Once upon a time, in the late 1980s, in a small American city filled with old brick buildings, glowing neon signs, and busy streets, there lived a young man named Matthew Carter. The city was always full of life. Every morning, shop owners opened their stores along the sidewalks. Cars slowly filled the streets. Workers hurried toward offices and factories. Children rode their bicycles through quiet neighborhoods. Day after day, life followed the same routine. People woke up early, they went to work, they returned home tired, and the next day, the same routine began again. Most people in the city believed in one simple rule. If something has always been done this way, then it must be the right way. Very few people questioned the system. Very few people tried something new. But Matthew Carter was different. While others followed the same path every day, Matthew spent his time observing the world around him. He watched how people worked. He watched how businesses operated. And he often wondered if there might be a better way to do things. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever had an idea that was different from everyone else's idea? Maybe you thought of a new solution to a problem. But when you shared your idea, people looked at you strangely. Maybe they laughed. Maybe they ignored you. Or maybe they told you your idea would never work. If that has ever happened to you, then you might understand Matthew better than you think. But before we continue the story, take a quick moment to support the channel. If you enjoy thoughtful and inspiring stories like this one, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to share more meaningful stories with people all around the world. Now, let's continue Matthew's story. Matthew worked at a small electronics repair shop near the center of the city. The shop was not very large. It had a wooden counter, shelves full of tools, and boxes filled with old radios, televisions, and cassette players waiting to be repaired. Every day, customers came in carrying broken devices. Most workers simply repaired the devices and moved on to the next one. But Matthew did something different. He studied them carefully. He examined how each part worked. Sometimes he even tried to imagine how the device could be designed better. Many of his co-workers did not understand why he spent so much time thinking. One day, one of them laughed and said, "Matthew, you think too much. Just fix the device and move on." But Matthew could not stop asking questions. And sometimes, the people who ask the most questions are the ones who discover the best answers. One autumn afternoon, something unexpected happened in the city. A delivery company that supplied many of the city's stores began having serious problems. Their trucks were always late. Packages were delayed. Customers were becoming frustrated. And many businesses were losing money. The company owner, a man named Mr. Thompson, tried everything he could think of. He hired more drivers. He bought more trucks. He asked workers to stay longer hours. But strangely, the problem did not improve. In fact, it became worse. Have you ever faced a situation like that? Where you try harder and harder to solve a problem, but nothing seems to change. Sometimes the real problem is not effort. Sometimes the real problem is the way we think. One evening after work, Matthew walked past the delivery company's parking lot. Several drivers were standing outside their trucks, arguing and complaining. Matthew stopped for a moment and listened. The drivers explained that traffic was the biggest problem. They spent hours driving back and forth across the city. Routes overlapped. Time was wasted. Fuel was wasted. Energy was wasted. Matthew quietly watched the trucks leaving and returning. And instead of asking how to work harder, he asked a different question. What if the entire system is wrong? That night, Matthew went home and sat at his small desk. He took out a notebook and began drawing a map of the city. Street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood, he studied how the delivery trucks moved through the city. Slowly, an idea began to form. The drivers were choosing routes based on habit, not efficiency. If the routes were carefully organized, deliveries could be faster and easier. Instead of chaos, there could be a system. But Matthew also knew something important. People often resist new ideas, especially when those ideas challenge the way things have always been done. Let me ask you another question. If you discovered a better solution to a problem, but everyone else disagreed with you, would you still speak up? Think about that for a moment. Because that is exactly the decision Matthew had to make. The next morning, Matthew walked into the delivery company's office. He politely asked if he could speak with Mr. Thompson. At first, the employees laughed. They wondered why a repair shop worker wanted to give advice about deliveries. But eventually, Mr. Thompson agreed to listen. Matthew placed his notebook on the desk. He carefully explained his idea. Instead of drivers choosing random routes, each truck would serve a specific area of the city. Routes would be planned in advance. This would prevent trucks from crossing the same streets again and again. Mr. Thompson listened silently. Then he asked one simple question. Do you really believe this will work? Matthew answered honestly. Yes, I do. Mr. Thompson decided to test the idea for 1 week. Only one truck would follow Matthew's route plan. The other trucks would continue working normally. Some drivers laughed. They believed the idea would fail. But the test began. On the first day, the test driver finished his deliveries almost 2 hours earlier than usual. On the second day, the same thing happened again. By the end of the week, the results were clear. The new system worked. Deliveries were faster. Fuel costs were lower. Drivers were less stressed. Soon, the entire company began using Matthew's route system. The business improved. Customers were happier, and the company slowly recovered. Matthew was later offered a position helping manage the company's operations. But the most important part of this story is not Matthew's new job. The most important part is the lesson. Matthew did not have more money than anyone else. He did not have more power. He did not even have more experience. What he had was something much more valuable. He had the courage to think differently. And sometimes, that is all it takes to change everything. Now let me ask you one final question. Right now in your life, is there a problem you keep trying to solve the same way again and again? Maybe the answer is not to work harder. Maybe the answer is to think differently. Remember this: every great invention, every great discovery, and every great success in history began with someone who dared to think differently. So never be afraid of your ideas. Even if people laugh, even if people doubt you, your idea might be the one that changes everything. If you enjoyed this story and learned something valuable from it, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this. Your support helps the channel grow and reach more people around the world. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.